Welcome everybody to Athletically Speaking, episode 4. Today with Ryan, he's coming back, and we're going to talk ACC football in one of our 5-part series of conference breakdowns. Alphabetically, we're starting with the ACC because it's at the top. Yeah, how's your day been?
It's been pretty good. Yeah. How's your day been?
It's been great.
Good.
I mean, I'm here.
Yeah, I feel
We
bad.
got a sweet tea.
Can't do any better than that, you know. Yeah.
We decorated this time.
Yeah, we did. You know, something.
It's something better than just a plain table.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's hop right into this. We'll start off with some of the basic news that's been floating around. Conference realignment along with the ACC. A lot of teams, from what I can tell, are starting to look around at the landscape of college football. Yeah. It's shifting. SEC, the Big Ten's making millions more than what the ACC is getting right now. And as of right now, from what I've seen, the ACC is going to be going with a unequal revenue sharing. And I think the model that they've started with is that the teams that do the best going into the postseason play, making the playoff, etc., will get more money than the lowlifes. Better put, like Virginia's and the teams that don't do so well, because Florida State, Clemson, and these teams are coming out and saying, hey, we've been carrying this conference for years, and where's our money? Why are we getting paid the same as Syracuse, who hadn't done nothing in 20 plus years?
Yeah.
Why should we not get more money than them? I think
Fair question.
it is a fair question, especially when you're looking around Oklahoma and Texas. They're moving to the SEC. They're going to get a massive pay grade. USC, UCLA, they're going to the Big Ten. They just signed a new deal. It's going to give them massive amounts of money. And the ACC, the Pac-12, is kind of getting left behind. The Big 12 did some things. They've rearranged some contracts. They're getting $30+ million, which is still less than anything that the ACC has been getting. Even it came out recently, the Magnificent Seven. I think it was Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, Virginia Tech, I think was the 7.
Yep, I think so.
Maybe one more, I can't remember exactly who. They've come out, they've been exploring the grant of rights, how actually unbreakable it is. Which, in case anybody doesn't know, the grant of rights is until 2036.
You got a good little bit left.
That's a ton of time.
Just a little bit, yeah.
To sit back and watch the SEC and Big Ten just come up and surpass them. I saw on Twitter somebody pointed out that the ACC teams should leave because they can pay the $120 million of the grant of rights fee and then easily pay that off by joining the Big Ten or the SEC, because they're going to be getting that much more money while being in one of those conferences. So why shouldn't Clemson and FSU and Miami go somewhere else and be making the same amount of money? Because right now they're just looking at Vanderbilt. They're looking at Rutgers. These other teams is making $50+ million a year, and they're stuck getting $26 to $30 million a year. These are name-brand college football teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
They shouldn't be sitting around making less than
Much higher
Vanderbilt.
quality. Yeah, much higher quality of football being played there.
Exactly.
And I mean, you know.
I mean, Vanderbilt isn't anything.
No.
And they're getting paid boatloads for just being in the SEC.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. The question now is because ultimately what I see happening is FSU, Clemson, and Miami, some point down the line in the next 13 years before this grant of rights is up, they're going to be in the SEC.
They will.
The SEC is going to take them. Yeah. The ACC is going to start to collapse because the Big Ten is going to take off teams as UNC and Duke, these AAU accredited universities. They're going to pick them off, and they're going to be gone. When the SEC takes their share, and maybe even the Big 12, I've seen rumors of possibly grabbing Louisville.
Yep.
Maybe like Syracuse and Pitt to match up with like West Virginia on the East Coast.
Yeah.
What happens to the Boston colleges? Some of these other teams. I feel like the same could be said for the Pac-12.
Yeah,
A possible merger in the future between the ACC and Pac-12.
Yeah.
I think it'd be something be interesting to look at when you get the leftovers of both conferences, make up a 10 to 15 team conference, and bring some up from the group of 5. Anyway, so I think the only way the ACC is surviving, we're gonna have to merge eventually somewhere down the line with the Pac-12 and bring up teams like Tulane, San Diego State, if they don't get picked off by the Big 12 soon, and other teams to make themselves fully sustainable. But even at that point, they're not going to get anywhere near what the SEC is, the Big 10 is, or even the Big 12 now, who has 30 plus million coming in here soon. That's just not going to happen. I mean, that's the only way they're going to survive. They're just going to have to disappear and make a new one, and do something along those lines. Call themselves the Coastal Conference.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that'd be. I think that's the only way they happen. The past ACC and Pac-12 is just not there.
They're not. They're getting left in the dust there.
Very much so. Very much so. When your 2 biggest teams are gone, the ACC, the only reason that these teams are still there is because they're locked in currently to the 2036.
And nowhere to go.
But as we've seen, Florida State's ADs and everybody from the Magnificent Sevens been talking with the lawyers, seeing if they can get out of that. So I don't think that'll be very Loctite very much longer.
No.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about current day ACC football. And for 2023, who do you have as your top teams coming into the season?
Number 1 for me would be Florida State. They retained their quarterback Jordan Davis and running back Trey Benson, and they do have a South Carolina transfer, Jaheim Bell. I think will really help them offensively and just be better, blocked in on the offensive side of the ball out there. That's who I have for my number 1.
And Florida State last year was very well. They were very good offensively overall. Let's see. Florida State on the offense, they were tied for first in scoring, 36.1 points a game in the ACC. They averaged 484.2 yards a game in the ACC, which was first. Their offense was just starting to get rolling last year. They, as well, are my number 1 best team for 2023 in the conference. I think, just like you said, Trey Benson coming back, who is second leading rushing just behind Will Shipley at Clemson. But him coming back, their quarterback is a veteran now. He's coming back. They played great in the Cheez-It Bowl against Oklahoma.
They did.
They pulled off that victory. They won 10 games last year. The defense will be making a step up for the Noles. It's just a matter of how much better can they collectively play in 2023 compared to what they did in 2022, which I think is going to be much better. They're returning 8 people on offense. They're returning 8 people on defense. And in case people forgot, they have 11 people on one side. That's a massive amount of starters coming back that are veteran players overall. I think a lot of that's going to stem from Jordan Travis coming in and taking that lead role for them.
Definitely a very key player right there.
And then Tatum Bethune on defense is the linebacker coming in. I think he's going to have to take a hold of the defense. And, I mean, right now, they're my favorite to win the ACC in 23.
Absolutely. I can see that.
Who's your second team?
Second I have is Clemson. God dang it. Sorry, I kind of got...
That's okay. Keep on going.
Sometimes it's hard to kind of like read my handwriting.
Gotta get better handwriting, man.
I know, for real. They've got definitely on the offensive side of the ball, quarterback Cade Klubnik. He's getting better. He's a rising star. They're definitely going to have to rebuild on the offensive line. You know, they lost left tackle Jordan McFadden. He's a 3-year starter and played 2,960 snaps, the third most of any offensive tackle in program history. And they also lost Miles Murphy to Baltimore and Brian Breezy to New Orleans. So they're definitely going to have to do some rebuilding on the line. But I think that they have potential and to do good things this season.
You know, Clemson, for me, is also my second team that will be coming into this year, who I think they'll be playing Florida State. because the division's going away. It'll be Florida State, Clemson will be the top two teams, and I think that's who that will be coming into the ACC championship in December. Even with that said, I don't think Clemson is a team this year that's going to have what they had last year. I wouldn't say that the offense was necessarily the problem. Like DJ Uiagalelei was, I mean, he wasn't great by any means, but I mean, Tennessee kicked their butt in the Orange Bowl 31-14, and Cade Klubnik was playing. Like, they lost 2 of their last 3 games with Klubnik playing. I don't think, like, their offense has to get better, which, with credit to them, they have Lincoln Riley's brother, Garrett Riley. He's coming in as the offense coordinator this year. That's a great hire, I think, by Dabo Swinney. I mean, look what TCU did in 1 year with him. I think the offense will take a step forward, but it's going to be dependent on the 8 starters that's returning on defense for the Tigers, because they will have veterans there. It's just, are they going to be as stout as they have been? I mean, Venables was there, and then he leaves, and they definitely are missing him.
Absolutely.
They're not what they have been. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Tigers coming into this year, is how consistent will they be running the ball? Because the ACC isn't very strong.
No.
Isn't a very strong conference. And I think that those 2 teams are the clear top 2. And it's just going to be a matter of how consistent can Klubnik be, can the defense be. You know, I'm just not sure. I've seen enough out of Klubnik so far that's going to make me think that he's going to put Clemson over the top this year.
Absolutely. It's definitely still 2 teams to watch. And
this is where I think we differ, though. Who is your third team?
Third team, I have North Carolina. I know, they have Drake May coming in. He's been astounding for them. He accounted for 45 total touchdowns last season. Heisman contender. Can he do that again? They do also have a couple of new transfers. They have Nate McCollum from Georgia Tech and Devontae Walker from Kent State to help the loss of number 1 receiver Josh Dawson. He's gone to the NFL. So they have those guys offensively on the side of the ball that I think will be great for them. The defense, though, I think they need to take a few extra strides to be better, though. They did give up 30 points a game, and they were ranked last in the ACC in least in pass efficiency. So they're definitely defensively on the side of the ball. They've got some work to do, but so we'll see.
That's why I don't like North Carolina this year. Drake May's great. He put up lots of numbers last year, and I'm sure he will do that again this year. But I mean, they got in a shootout with Appalachian State.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, granted they beat A&M, whatever, but there's no reason they should have been in that shootout.
No.
They scored 42 points, I think it was, in the 4th quarter alone against North Carolina. Drake May and the offense isn't the problem.
Championship. Defense wins championships.
Exactly. I don't think Gene Chizik is going to change the defense much this year. They do return 7 starters. How much that helps them, I don't know. But I wouldn't assume that returning lots of people from a bad defense is going to make them any better.
Solve a lot of answers. That's their problem.
Especially with Gene Chizik, who wasn't really that great, is going to make them any better.
No.
That's my only downfall for them.
Yeah, they definitely lack defensively on the side of the ball. Lots of rebuilding there for them to do.
I have the opposite of North Carolina, and I have NC State as my third team. And the reason I say this is because last year in 2022, NC State was tied first in scoring defense with 19.2 points a game, second in rushing defense, allowing only 100.7 yards a game, 7th in passing defense. The secondary needs a little bit of work, but 226 points a game. This is all in the ACC, by the way. And then total defense, second with 326.9 yards a game. Now that defense that was putting up those numbers is returning 6 starters. They're bringing back offense 5 members, including running back Jordan Houston. I think this team will be one to watch. I don't think they're near on the level of Clemson and Florida State is. But I think that they will be able to compete for some of those spots, especially in some of these key games that we have later on. When we get to teams like Florida State, Clemson, like that matchup, like any point in the season, I mean, NC State's going to be there. They're going to make that presence known. They'll be there to compete. Like I said, will it be necessarily to that level? I don't think so. But they're my number 3 team, just solely based on the defense alone. Because, like you said, defense wins championships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can win games with a good defense and a semi-offense.
Absolutely.
So, with all that being said, your 1, 2, 3 teams, who do you got as your projected champion?
I mean, I'm gonna say just who's number 1 in the conference last year. Stick with Florida State. Like I said, they have Jordan Davis, which is great for them. Running back Trey Benson's going to do great things for them. They got a transfer from South Carolina. That's going to do good things for them. I think that they can keep up the momentum. So that's who I have for my number 1 who will get it done.
There's also who I have, Florida State. I think right now this is the best opportunity for Mike Norvell to come in and actually do something with the team that hasn't done much since
2013, 14.
Yeah, 2013 they won a Natty. 2014 they played in the playoff with Jameis Winston. And then 2016 I think they won 10 games, and that was the last time that they were ever that they've been Willie Taggart era was bad, and Mike Norvell started off rough, but he's finally building something. I think FSU can easily handle Clemson, handle this league that is not very good. I think FSU will be able to take that crown pretty easily this year.
Hopefully they can get back to what they were, start building on some things, kind of get more back in the relevant talks, but
back in that national spotlight.
Absolutely.
Who do you have as your dark horse ACC champion? Or dark horse teams to compete? Don't know? So I got a couple here. My dark horse, one of them, as I talked about earlier, 3rd team, NC State. I think, like I said, their defense will be able to carry them a little bit and will push them up there. They just won't quite be there. If they have a couple things go their way, they might be able to work their way into the championship conversation, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Another team who I have further down my list here, but I think could potentially make big strides this year, is Miami. We haven't heard a lot about them.
No.
Tyler Van Dyke comes back this year, returning their quarterback. He didn't live up to the hype last year. I think Miami Hurricanes is a team right now that if it's possible, and if Tyler Van Dyke plays well enough, that Miami could position themselves as that 4th team in the ACC. Will they? I don't know. And there's a lot of question marks around that team and whether or not they can make that next step. I would love to see them do that because I think college football is better when the bad boy Hurricanes are playing at the level they can. Will they? I don't know. But I think that's my 2 dark horses coming into the year. We kind of touched on this earlier, but Clemson rebuilding, is that possible for this year?
I mean, I think so. I would never count Clemson out. It's been a few years since they've been relevant. But, I mean, I don't think we should count out K. Klubnik. He had another year to get better in the offseason. So I'm not going to count him out completely. They do have to rebuild, on the O-line, like we said. But I think they can compete, and they're just a team to watch. And
I think it is possible. I think the biggest thing is going to be their defense. Can the starters come back, have that veteran presence to actually make a difference? And then Klubnik, if he can play effectively. I mean, they don't really have a lot of big-name receivers there right now like they used to have when Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, when they were there, they had big-name receivers. And I just don't think that they have that right now.
Nope.
I think they're going to have to rely on their offensive line in their running game to really push some of that forward to open up a passing game. And if they can do that effectively, then they can probably get through pretty well. And then the defense, of course, is going to have to just be a little better, which is easy to do in the ACC.
It is. Absolutely.
I think some of the marquee matchups to look forward to in 2023. September 23rd, Florida State at Clemson is a big game. Likely a preview of the end of the year, the championship game. I think Clemson at Miami is going to be a big one. Like I said earlier, if Miami can take those steps with Van Dyke, make them relevant again, that could be interesting game to watch. Same thing, Miami, Florida State for the same reasons. Florida State seems a lot better on paper. It's a big rivalry game. Whether or not Miami can actually step into that spotlight and take it on and not crash and burn like they did last year will be a big thing. Well, I think that's all we got for this edition of Athletically Speaking. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Check out our new TikTok that I got going. That's a lot of fun. Subscribe to the YouTube, like, follow, all that good stuff. And until next time, we'll see you later.